I think we're live.
Hey everybody, it's Bob Sank, and I want to talk to you today. I've got some special guests, and I'm a real estate coach and really enjoy helping people figure out this amazing business of real estate. And today I've got some wonderful gentlemen to help me out with that. And one is Greg Waldman. He's from Colorado, and we won't hold that against him because he has such a beautiful state. But welcome on board today, Greg. Great to see you here.
Thank you.
And then our moderator today is going to be another gentleman who, this guy's just got it. He just knows how to get things done. And that's a good buddy of mine, Sean Lyman. So, hey, Sean, how's it going?
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
Great. So, hey, Sean, why don't you get us started today, and let's get rolling, okay?
Great. Greg, obviously we got you on the line here because you've been implementing some things in your business and getting results, and we just kind of want to hear your story about what you're doing and what kind of results you're getting. So we're going to keep this really simple. We'll just start off by, if you could just share, 5 minutes of how you got into the real estate business, how long you've been in the business, and then from there we're going to talk about what your business looked like, before you started receiving Bob's help, and then kind of what it looks like now and where you're going. So really just sharing your story with us. So if you could, just give us a couple of minutes, real high-level overview of how you got into this business.
Yeah, no, I actually started this business 9 years ago. My wife's in commercial real estate, so I kind of had a little flavor of what she was going through, and I had some brother-in-laws that were in real estate, residential. And before I got into this business, I was working as a senior manager with an environmental firm, and it found that I was traveling 80% of my time and missing out on my family activities. So I felt it was a time for a change. I love to help people. I love to negotiate, and being able to be home with my kids every night was a plus. So that's really what drove me into this business, was that I love to help people find their homes and be part of the negotiation process.
Okay, so basically it was more or less getting in to provide a little bit more, freedom in your life.
It was.
And get control over your time.
Right.
All right, so you've been in the business 9 years. How did you come to meet Bob?
I met Bob through some prior coaching, and I knew right away that he was kind of the main guy on that program, so I kind of always had kept him on the radar screen. And when I found that he was implementing his new coaching program, it was a no-brainer to jump on board.
Okay, so walk us through, what you were doing in your business, what kind of results you were getting, before, meeting Bob and getting some help. So what did your business look like? Like, who's on, do you have a team? How many units you're doing? Where's your business coming from? So just paint us a picture of, what your business was like.
Yeah, I'm a single agent. I have an admin gal at the office that can help periodically, but I don't call on her that much. So I'm most of my business last year came from referrals. I did 27 deals last year, and about 75% of those were buyers, and 25 were listings. When I met with Bob, of course, we want to focus a little more on listings, and so my business has transformed nicely into that this year, where almost 70% of my business is listings at this point. And I'm starting to leverage the signage and things that he's taught me with that to bring the buyers along as well.
Okay, so all right, so you're a single agent. If you need some admin help, you have some admin help. How many deals did you say you did last year?
27 deals last year.
All right, and then you said 75% buyer, and were they all buyer referrals? Like, where were the buyer leads coming from?
Most of my buyers did come as referrals. About 80% of my total business last year was referrals. So I did get a few hits off of some of my online ads, but it was mostly word of mouth.
Okay. And so what made you decide that you wanted to go from 75% buyers to 75% sellers?
Well, there's a lot of leverage that you can utilize with the signage that you put in front of your listings, and a lot of call of actions that Bob teaches us with text text ads and things of that nature that I felt like I was really missing out on showing up to everybody else's listings with their signs in the air. So I really wanted to capture the listing side of it.
Okay. And do you find it's easier to work with sellers than buyers?
It is at this point. Just my market's a little bit crazy as our inventory is extremely low, and a lot of buyers are struggling to find properties.
Yeah, so if you have the inventory, then your job's going to be much, much easier.
Sure.
Right? So, all right. So last year you have 27 deals, mainly referrals. Like, how are you getting 75% of your business through referrals? Like, what are you doing to have people out there kind of selling you versus you selling you?
Throughout the process, I'm continually asking my clients for referrals, usually about 3 times during the process. And as one of my closing packages to them, I ask them for a 3rd time if they know of anybody else that might benefit from my services. So it's been a very profitable venue to continually ask for referrals while I'm working with people and they're in that buying and selling mode.
All right. Well, sounds like, and you're doing it every time, right?
I am, yeah.
So would you use anything to remind you, or you just it's just automatic for you to just be conscious and aware of turning business into other business through referrals?
Yeah, I typically will have the system will tell me to ask for the referrals right after I've worked with people for about a week or 2, and then after they go under contract, and then at closing I ask them for a 3rd time.
You said system. What system?
I just I put it in my daytimer system that it tells me is when I hit a certain target that things happen, and those are just reminders to myself to make sure I ask for the referral.
Beautiful. So basically, just your servicing plans, have reminders to ask. That's how it happens every time.
Certainly, yes.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So you had a buyer business, and you said, "Oh man, it's crazy out here in Colorado. All you got to do is list property, and it'll sell."
Right.
And they're like, and were you getting in multiple offer situations with buyers, and therefore having to find them even more homes to buy?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the first thing? Well, obviously the first thing that you did was just decide and commit to shifting your business to sellers versus buyers, right?
Exactly.
All right. And so what was the what was the first thing that you did next?
Well, what I did is I started showing my current sellers the listing presentation that I brought back from Bob's workshop, and they were far and blown away with how much more I'm able to offer through Bob's systems, that they started telling their friends, and so that I'm picking up a lot of listings just from my past ones that are viewing the new system.
So, all right. So you mentioned the workshop, and that's where we had met the the live event that we did. Tell us how you came about making the decision to come out to the live event and spend a couple days with us.
Yeah, no, it was as I said, I met Bob years ago and had a high level of respect for him. He told me about the workshop. It had unfortunately fallen on my twin's 16th birthday, so it was a little bit of convincing with my daughters that this was something I really wanted to do and needed to do. So once
I'm still shocked you came. I really am. I'm shocked and honored that you came. That was when you told me it was going to be your twin daughter's 16th birthday. I was like, there's no way he can make it. So that really shows commitment. So
yeah, no, like I said, they realized that this was something that I wanted to do, and their birthday was celebrated beforehand, so we're good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you come to the live event, and what were some of the things that you took away from the live event and started, implementing? Were you working on the presentation before the event, or? What were you gonna say, Bob?
Hey, Sean, I think it's important to note that although Greg and I have been friends a long time, we didn't really formally start coaching, working together, as coaching client until after the live event.
Sure.
Right? Which is just
Sure.
a month and a half ago. When you think about it, that wasn't that long ago.
Right.
So Greg's a fast implementer and everything else, but we were just talking, and I told him about the live event, or you asked about information about it. We had a chat, and you said, "Oh, it's my daughter's birthday, but let me see if I can do it." And he jumped on a plane. He didn't even, once you had the approval, you were coming. So
I was done. Yeah.
But he wasn't coaching already, Sean. I think that's important to note as we go through his successes and everything else. The changes in his business, came about since just a month and a half ago.
Yeah. So what were some of the takeaways from the event, and what did you start? What did you implement first, and then just start sharing with us some of the things. So you came to the event, and as Bob said, you got some value from the event. You started implementing. You started seeing results, and then made a decision to join the Mastermind. And so just walk us through from the live event, which was only, I guess, like 2 months ago. And we share a lot of stuff there, but it's, for you and your business, taking what you believe to be the highest and best use, and then, start implementing one by one. So if you could just share with us, what you implemented, how long it took to implement, and then the results that you started seeing. So what did you do first?
Well, one of the real bonuses with going to the workshop is that all these materials are already branded for you. So a lot of that stuff is already put in play with the home selling guide, the listing presentation, and things are all packaged and ready to rock and roll. So as I said, I took the listing presentation and had all my listings listen to a new one so I could actually practice utilizing the new listing presentation, and got their interests up as well with new things that I was doing. I also implemented a thank you card program that Bob started. We all kind of expect birthday cards and Christmas cards, but when you just get one out of the blue from somebody to say thank you for a kind gesture, it has really paid off for me. I only send out 2 a day, and just in my first month that I've been doing this, I've gotten 3 listings and a buyer just off a thank you card, and that's over 1.25 million gross sales just with those 4 clients. So the program itself it's rewarding to tell somebody thank you, but to get business out of it is even better.
Yeah. So that's sounds like it's a really high ROI if you're doing 2 a day.
Yeah, it's an incredible high ROI.
Over $1 million in sales from just the power of thank you. And I believe when people get something that nobody else is, they're not getting a thank you card from anybody else, right? And you're kind of giving without the expectation of receiving, and people it's the law of reciprocity, right?
Yeah. I'd sent it to my dry cleaner, and she had a bunch of other realtor cards in her business, and she's taken them out and put mine in there.
That's great. That's great.
So you'll continue to do the thank you card program, right?
I am. I think it's. I enjoy getting them, and I know that others do as well.
Okay, so you implemented a thank you card, the listing presentation. Like, how long did that take for you to, feel comfortable, and how many presentations? Like, just walk us through the difference of having that versus not having that.
I think the listing presentation, my whole family, my kids all listened to it several times as well. But I think when I got back from the workshop, I had 3 active listings. And I turned that into 7 right away, just with having people listen to my presentation and see how much more than I'm doing for other people than other people were. So I would say that the listing presentation, since it was already packaged up for me in the workshop, that was immediate. I jumped on that right away. Thank you cards. I simply just went out and bought a nice box of thank you cards and started to rock and roll with that, just since that was so inexpensive to utilize.
I think you hit hit another nail on the head. It's people think they just have to go out and buy all this business and continually spend all this money on marketing, and you're through a presentation and some ways of saying thank you. You're attracting business versus having to spend all this money to generate leads and then have to chase them down all day.
Exactly. No, I get a lot of people that just refer to me just because I do send out thank you cards. So.
Yeah, see, that's just incredible, Greg. I mean, it's so hard, like you said, Sean, for people to hear this. And I know, Greg, maybe you were a little apprehensive whether it would work so well, right? Because you can't believe that will really work, that you'll do $1.25 million in gross sales from thank you cards.
Right.
When you first started it, too, it's not like you had to wait a long time. They came immediate.
Yep.
And then also, he more than doubles his listing inventory in 1 month, basically, by a very powerful presentation.
Sure.
And that's incredible. Going from 3 listings to 7 listings in no time flat. That's great. So
yeah,
congratulations.
No, it's worked out well, and then I've got a bunch of sign writers. I've implemented this V4 software, and now I'm utilizing the text writers. And some of the unique selling propositions with buy this home, sell yours for free. I've had buyers ask me about that. And also the open house every day. That's just kicking off. I haven't really utilized that long enough to know what type of traffic I'm getting with that, but I'm starting to put these systems into place as well.
And and you said from the event you started using the home selling guide?
I did, yes.
And what has been the results there?
The nice part about that is when you go into your listing presentation and you've already captured their attention through the program, and then you give them this home selling guide, which is loaded with materials and information that they will likely ask you at some point down the road in this process, and it kind of answers their questions before they can ask them of you. So it frees you up a lot of time where you'd be answering a lot of questions regarding the process where you've laid it all out for them.
Yeah, so what you're saying is your time servicing clients goes down when you're able to get them any question they could ask, here's the answer. Because really at the end of the day, that's what sellers want. They want the answer. They don't necessarily want you.
Exactly.
Right? They just think you're the only one that's going to be able to get it to them, so they're reaching out to get the answer.
Right. And it's in a great format. It flows real well with the presentation, and sellers generally appreciate it. They go back and look at that all the time, and of course they share that with their neighbors.
So, Greg, you're basically being able to service more people but spending less time doing it, right?
Exactly.
You're spending less time. Talk about a little bit, and Sean, you're probably going here. How's your income? How's the income, and what you learned at the workshop, how have you implemented that, and what kind of results have you seen so far?
What I'm seeing is it was kind of funny with one of my listings. When I got back, I showed him the listing presentation, and he says, "Man, I'm glad I got a hold of you earlier because I would have paid a lot more." When he saw my presentation, in fact, he still insisted on paying a transaction fee just because I am doing more than I started with. So,
Sean, you like that, don't you?
I know, it worked out great. And I'm asking, I bumped my commissions up by 1%. I am charging more than most people in my market, but by the time I get through the presentation and the 3 levels of service that we offer, it's done. We don't argue over commissions anymore.
I love that.
How does that make you feel, that no longer having the stress of wrestling people for receiving what you're worth?
Well, I think by the time you get through the presentation, people truly appreciate your professionalism based on all the materials that lead up to that final discussion. and it's so much more than what people are really used to hearing. It's they just want to know where they can sign. It's literally game over.
So let's talk about the money real quick and the commissions and fees. So you're now receiving what in addition in extra commission, and then what fees were you getting before, and what are you getting now?
Right. Last year I was getting right around 5% on each of my listings. Now I'm getting 6%, and I'm getting a minimum $5.95 transaction fee on top of that.
And what were you getting before?
5% with nothing.
All right, so let's run these numbers real quick. So last year you did 20, how many homes?
27.
And then this year you're on pace. You've already kind of matched that already through the first 5 months of this year. So
yeah.
So you're probably looking at doubling your business. So we'll just make a round number of 50 transactions, right?
Right.
So an extra, let's just say $600 and 50 transactions. That's what, $30,000?
Yeah, my average home sales are right around 400,000.
So you got 30. Well, then 595.
Wow.
More than that.
Well. But, all right, so there's
I'm moving to Denver.
30,000 in fees and an extra percent on your. Now, are you getting that extra percent, or are you just getting a half of an extra?
No, I'm getting the extra percent.
You're getting the extra percent. Right. So let's just say you sell 25 listings, 400 grand extra percent. That's $4,000. 25 times 4,000 is 100,000. Is that right?
Yeah, you're right.
That's right.
So an extra percent and the 595 is an extra $130,000 in income without having to sell an extra home.
Any more homes?
Yeah, that's my favorite part, because everyone's like, oh, I want to grow my business. Like, let's talk income per sale, because the fastest way to grow your business is to be different than every other agent, provide more value and get compensated for that value, and start making, I tell people, stop copying other agents. Those other agents are broke. Stop copying them, right? Like, we need to be positioned, and you're positioning yourself differently with the presentations and the guides and saying thank you, and you're just positioned differently. And I just don't believe people that are providing more value and positioned different than the other agents should be compensated like the other agents.
Right. Right, and it was kind of funny because I got a listing I just took across the street from me in the cul-de-sac, and I had a bunch of buyers pull up in front of the house, and they engaged in the texting service, and I'm standing in my daughter's window looking out at them, and I'm no sooner than they got done hitting the last number, I'm talking to them. I walked across the street. They couldn't believe how quick I was.
That's great.
That's follow-up right there.
That is serious follow-up. But
so all right, so you're getting an extra percent. You are getting an extra $5.95 per deal, buyer and seller, correct?
Right.
You now have presentations. You have guides. You have marketing materials, and now it sounds like. Tell me what you've done differently with now that you are getting a listing, leveraging yard marketing to generate the people that you just discussed there, where you're able to walk across the street and talk to them. So what are you doing differently in the yards, and what kind of results are you seeing from your listings?
I used to spend a lot of money on brochures, fancy color brochures that would sit outside in boxes, getting wet, ruined, and taken by all the neighbors. So I've taken all my brochure boxes off, and I've implemented a texting service for details. And so people are calling that, where I'm doing a name capture or phone number capture and can follow up with them that way. I'm also using a buy this home, I'll sell yours for free. And so I'm getting people calling me on that call to action. And just recently I put out the open house every day ad. And like I said, that one's really new, and I'm not yet seeing any real action, but I can see where people are going to jump on that. Our homes are selling in about 2-3 days.
Yeah, people don't even have time to get to it.
So I don't know that that's going to be as strong for me right now, but people.
It will be later on.
It will be later on. Yeah, they're selling too fast right now, but I do put the sign out because I want people to know I do that as well.
Absolutely.
We still have a lot to work on, a lot to implement. You still have a lot of other things to do.
Oh, I'm sure.
Greg, because it's only been less than 2 months, so we have so many other of our systems for Greg to implement. But right now, he's having great success with just a few things that weren't difficult to implement and weren't expensive either for you to implement.
Yeah, no, it's worked out really well, and those are my big things I'm working on, and just trying to do some time management. Bob keeps me in line with doing the things that matter in my business rather than working on my business rather than in it.
And yeah, well, that's important for, I think, every business owner, is to just continually work on your business to get better. So it sounds so. All right, so last year you did 27. This year you've kind of matched it in 5 months. So you're on pace to probably double your business this year. And if you get up around the 40, 50, 60 unit range this year, you're going to need some help, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, it's getting to the point where I got to get that initial transaction coordinator brought in, because it is getting to be a little much trying to juggle all these transactions at once. So that will be my first. I've already engaged and interviewed a few people that I would call upon next month. I'll get them on board, and then I would imagine by the end of the year I'll need to be looking at a buyer specialist, because it is really time consuming, and it takes a lot to cart these people around and find them the best deal, especially in this market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think our goal will be to, well, it's always the client's goal, but Greg, definitely a couple buyer specialists before the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's really, the sooner we get you out of that and just focusing on listings only, the better for your business. So.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that'll be my next step.
So, all right. So you came to the live event, and then you would join the Alpine Mastermind. And what's that experience been like?
It's been really good. I mean, there's always informational packed webinars that we can sit in on. A lot of them are pre-recorded so that we can go back and look at things that maybe happened the weeks prior. It's just the collaboration with your peers and what's working, what's not working, and how can you best learn from each other. And that's what and it's live. It's real situations. It's not something that maybe happened years ago. We're talking about situations that we can all benefit from right now.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So sounds like your business is growing. You're very busy. You kind of know who you need to bring on next to keep growing and getting it to where. So where do you see your business? Like where are you going? What's it look like?
I kind of see myself. I got 3 colleges to pay for, so I gotta keep this.
You got awesome.
So I think that I'm going to need to get some buyer specialists. I'd love to get into the 200-300 transactions per year, and be able to manipulate that type of business.
And still have a life to spend.
Yeah, I still would like to be able to see my kids and family and not have it consume me like it's starting to right now.
Yep. Excellent. Bob, is there anything that Greg?
Yeah, I think Greg's going through that cycle, Sean. We've seen that before, right? They get a few things into their business, right? That's really my job to help get a few systems in, and then they get a bit busy, right, Greg? Like you're feeling right now.
Right.
You're getting a bit busy. You're making more money, which is what we want.
Right.
You really could stay doing what you were doing before and make way more money, but you're finding it's probably pretty easy to get more business, isn't it? It's not difficult. So, but then now you're starting to get a little overwhelmed. There's you have a lot of transactions, so we want to really work on getting a transaction coordinator, somebody to take that off of Greg's plate. then work on the buyer specialists coming in and being able to focus on the buyers. So that time is no longer taken up by Greg doing it. So you can focus on those listings, which drives more and more buyer business, Sean. Right. So Greg's well on his way. I think the thing that I really want people to hear or to get across here is, here's a guy that just started this. You know, it doesn't take a long time. People are always worried. You know this, Sean, you hear it. And Greg, you're probably maybe a little bit apprehensive, not much because you already knew me somewhat. Right. But people don't believe that it can happen this fast. And it really does. It really does. And it happened because he took the action to miss his daughter's birthday, which I still can't believe, but to come to a workshop, you know, here in Pittsburgh, and to spend 2 days, 2 packed-filled days learning this stuff. And then, Greg, like you alluded to before, everything's done for you. All the marketing's already done, so it's not you going back to Denver and putting your logo here and putting your photo here, and that's all done for you. So when you leave, you're going back and you're doing what? You're implementing. You're showing the presentation immediately. You had the home selling guide. You had the equity evaluation, right? Yep. You had the home selling brochures. You had everything ready as soon as you get back. And that's why I think you taking action is the most important thing, but it's having it all done already, which really makes a big difference, right?
Right.
So I think that's what we really need to learn is that, you know, it does take, you know, there's certain, we get forks in the road. We have certain decisions to make. Greg could have said, nah, I just can't make the business building workshop now, and he'd be going down that way. Or he said, yeah, I'm going to make that bit, and then he took the business building workshop, right, forked in the road, and then he could have said, well, I'm going to take action and put everything in place that I learned, or I'm just going to go down and, yeah, it was great, I had fun, I met some people. Well, he took action. So we always hit these forks in the road, Sean, and Greg, you know, I applaud you with taking action. The great thing is that anybody can do it. If you would like to schedule, if anybody would like to schedule a call with me, we're going to have below a link below this video, and it's 2xyourbusiness.info. And you could schedule a call with me, a strategy session, to see whether it's a good fit, whether you would benefit from coming to a workshop with me. And Greg, I think you can attest that you'd probably give it high marks.
Oh, yeah. I think I might miss my wife's birthday.
Shh, we're not setting her this link.
Out there.
Yeah, we don't want that one out there. So,
yeah, and I think if, you know, for all the people listening out there, you know, there's some common things here, you know, where Greg, you know, he not only took action, but he had, you know, systems to follow. You know, he's doing things over and over on purpose. Rather than just always, you know, reacting and, oh, I'll get to the thank you cards tomorrow or whatever the case may be. Greg, I'd tell you to do 4 a day. If 2 a day is working that well,
yeah, I know.
I'd be doing 4 a day. You know, but you know, so it's having the systems and the marketing and taking action and just knowing, you know, what to do and when, and just making the commitment that, you know, you're going to do it no matter what, and not, you know, give up before you start seeing, you know, results. So, you know, congratulations to you, Greg, for, you know, just following the system, implementing, and, you know, I loved how you just said, you know, part of my client servicing plans is these reminders for referrals. And if you didn't have those reminders in place, you know, it probably wouldn't happen. So, so anyway, yeah. So Bob, I don't think there's anything else.
No, yeah, just Sean. Let's. We're getting feedback. Anyway, Sean, let's talk about the successes that Greg's had. Why don't you lead us in that since you're getting my feedback?
Yes, I mean, so to recap, I think what I heard Greg say is he's grown his business through more transactions. He's been able to shift from buyers to sellers. He's been able to increase his income per sale, so he's grown his business without having to, you know, sell more homes, which require work. He's getting higher and better quality leads from his listings through the yard marketing. He's got presentations and the thank you card program that are producing fruit, you know, right away. So, you know, right there is just a handful of things that are going to help him double his business this year and still provide an income and a life, you know, because those listings require less time, you know, than the buyers. The home selling guide has pretty much helped in his servicing because he's not always answering the same question over and over again. And he got real busy real quick, and when you get busy, you're going to need some help. So it sounds like he definitely knows who the next people are in his business that can provide him, you know, that help. So, you know, I think he's gotten great results and, you know, basically maximum results in the minimum, you know, amount of time. And I'm just excited to see where Greg, you know, goes next.
Yeah, me too.
So,
thanks, Sean, for getting us together today on the Hangout. And thanks to Greg for telling the story.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks a lot, Greg. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank
Bye.
you.
See you guys.
All right.
Bye.